Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining our webinar today, Inside the Compact System, Technical Deep Dive. I'm Amy Coulter, and I'll be your moderator. We're really excited that distributors from 37 different companies representing 19 countries are in participation today. Today, we'll be covering everything from the compact system's key features and components to installation tips and technical insights. Just like our last webinar, we want this to be interactive. So please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen to ask questions throughout the session. We'll be sure to answer them at the end of the webinar. We'll also be popping up polls to get your feedback. Now, let me introduce our speakers to you. First, we have Matt Hunick, our mechanical engineer and the lead engineer behind the design of the compact system. Next up is Michael Medina, our project manager and go-to guy for all things new and exciting in AFEX product development. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Matt, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, yeah, thank you, Amy, for the introductions. I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everybody for being here. We really do appreciate you taking that time to join us today. If you did catch our recent sales webinar, you learned all about the new markets and all the different machines that the AFEX compact system is designed for. But today, Michael and I, we're going to kind of switch gears and we're going to focus on the technical side. We're going to take a closer look at things like the design, how it works, and really, why you're going to love installing the system.
And as Amy mentioned, we like to keep these things interactive. So we have the Q&A for you to answer or for asking questions throughout the whole thing. We'll have polls that pop up, but we're also we've collected all the parts from the compact system. So the format, we'll go through a few slides and present things, but then we'll also be able to pick up these parts and show you how they're going to look in your hand, what you can expect when you order them. So we'll start with a poll question here. How many of you have already installed the compact system? Now, we like starting with this question because I think it's going to give us a good idea of who the audience is. Are they familiar with this system? Have they worked on it before? And I think what's nice is, regardless of the answers, we've really developed this presentation to be for someone who's brand new to it. We're going to cover all the things they really need to know.
Yep. And maybe you've already bought a system, but you haven't installed it yet as well. So maybe one of the answers you can put down for that is no, but you plan to. So I'll give you another couple seconds here to finish answering this first poll, and we'll see how the results come in. Looks like a lot of you said that no, but you're planning to buy one and install one. So that's great.
Yeah, hopefully this answers a lot of the questions that you might have about it.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into too many of the technical details, though, I just want to take a quick step back. And I do really want us to talk about why this new compact system was developed. You might be wondering, what exactly is going to make this compact system be a game changer for you?
Yeah. So when we get into the design phase of this, we had a few things that we had as inputs. So the first one was customer feedback. We had customers telling us, hey, I've got this small machine, these really small footprints where I want to fit a system in, and I just need something compact to go in there. The other thing we heard a lot was, I want a tank that I can mount horizontal, maybe just because of the restrictions. A lot of people, it's got to be horizontal. On the flip side of that, internally, we got a lot of feedback saying from AFEX saying, we want to expand into new markets. We want to get on new machines. So we knew that the end result of this system was going to be a tool for distributors to go out and say, hey, maybe you never considered these machines or this markets, and now you have this thing. We're challenging you to go out there and get on those. So in the sales webinar, we talked about buses is a big one, airport ground equipment. There's a lot of new markets that we think this compact system is going to be great for. And then anytime we design a component here, we always have the output in mind of we're developing an AFEX part. Mm-hmm. So at AFEX, we say we do one thing and we do it the best. So when we're designing this in engineering, we have to back up that statement. So it's not just enough to check off the customer feedback of, hey, it's horizontal, hey, it's small. It's got to perform just as good as all of our other systems. It's got to be reliable, easy to install. We have to go above and beyond those expectations.
All right, so we can get into some of the key technical features of this system. The first one there, that is 1.5 gallons is your capacity. So it's just about 5.7 liters. The installed size, so if you were to put like a box around the tank with the bracket and the fittings, you're going to be 7.5 inches wide. That's your widest point of the straps. 6.25 inches tall when it's sitting into that bracket. And then your main one there is your 23 inches is your length. And that is your length with the fittings already being installed on the tank.
Yeah, so this is a liquid agent system. It uses our AFEX liquid agent. AFEX, I think, is really the last big product launch we had last year in April. And what we did is we took years to develop this agent with development, testing, tweaking it. And we really wanted to design an agent that was optimized for our systems. So the flow rates and the pressures that we have in our systems, we were able to design this agent to really, increase the performance. Right. The knockdown is so much better. The cooling is better. The discharge time that you're going to get out of this tank is a minimum of 20 seconds. All of your distribution is 1/2 inch. You can use hose or tubing, and then you're going to get 4 nozzles. Now, these variables like the discharge time, the distribution, and the coverage, those are all the things that we mess with, when we're trying to optimize that performance. How much of those can we get? What's the length? All those things are things that we messed with to make sure we were getting a product we were happy with at the end.
Yeah. The last feature there, we really wanted to keep with the proven AFEX design. So we wanted to still have that side cartridge for, your reliability and your maintenance. So what's really cool about this system, though, is we're just using a single 2-ounce, something, that we already have in our inventory. But that 2 ounce is what's actually pressurizing the whole system, and it's your remote. So you don't need to have another 1 ounce anywhere else on this system. Next, just showing a quick overview of the compact system. So again, this is going to be pretty similar to all of our other systems. If you look at the very top there, you can see that there's the side cartridge for the system. Then below that is the tank. Again, remember that comes to you completely assembled, filled, ready for you to install it. There's a simple bracket there for you to use. And then you just have your whole distribution and your 4 nozzles. Again, very easy for you to install this. It's going to be quick and compact for your small machines.
Yeah, this presentation, we're really going to get into some of the differences if you're used to our other systems. But as Matt mentioned, once you get away from that tank, the distribution, all the actuation, those are all components that you're already used to dealing with. So the system overall is going to be very familiar to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's go ahead and have another poll question here for you. So what components of the compact system are you most interested in learning about? Again, we just had that previous slide that kind of showed some of those components. So let us know, if you want to learn more about the tank, the bracket, the first disc, or the nozzle. And again, the goal here is to get you comfortable, with the parts and pieces of this new system. And really, you're probably going to have some questions about it. We'll try to get into as many things as we can, but just remember, use that Q&A. Take some time right now to answer this question and type in a question if you have that. And we'll be able to get to that here soon.
Yeah, that first poll question, not a lot of people had purchased these yet. So as we go through this presentation, you'll learn a little bit more about the components. So anytime through the presentation, if you want to add a Q&A, like maybe right now you don't know what you're interested in, at the end of it, we'll go back and cover anything more in detail if we need to.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what the highest thing is. Yeah, we were guessing which one it could be. Like we knew it's going to be the tank probably because that's just the coolest thing of this new system.
Yeah, and that works perfect because when we go to the next slide, we're going to be looking at the tank. So the tank at the top here, we have the footprint of just the tank itself. It's 21.5 inches long and the diameter is 5 1/4. The tank is non-pressurized. Like Matt was saying, the 2 ounce is pressurizing the tank whenever the system goes off. And that non-pressurized tank lets you keep that 12-year hydro test on the tank. Matt mentioned it briefly, but unlike our other systems, this one actually ships full of the liquid agent. So when you take it out of the box, it's ready to go. You put your fittings on it, you put it in the bracket with the straps, and you can just install it right on the machine like that. And then that shipping weight is 27.5 pounds. So when it's full of that agent, that's going to be your total weight.
Yep. Keeping, with the AFEX reliability and just, making our whole system be strong is we made this really heavy duty bracket as well to fit that tank. There's going to be 2 straps that are going to go onto this tank. There you can see the size there. And one thing I want to point out is if you look at the 2 pictures, there's actually a tab that you can bend. And that kind of adds like a foot for the tank to sit on and rest on. And you can use that if you're going to mount this tank, at an angle or vertical. Just helps you set it in there to be able to tighten up the strap so you aren't having to try to hold everything in place. And actually, let's go ahead and grab some parts. We can show you some things here.
So here I've got the compact tank, and this is exactly how it would come out of the box. It's full of agent, so it's 27.5 pounds. There's not much to look at on the outside. It's just an aluminum cylinder. But at the top here, this is the cap for the tank. The adapter here has this blue plug in it, and that's where your 1/2-inch distribution is going to come out. And then the red plug to the side of that is going to be your 1/4-inch actuation.
Yeah, I really wanted to kind of point this out again. It's so cool that this tank actually has your both your activation and your distribution out of one side of this tank. That's going to be pretty unique for us. And again, it's going to make your installations really easy for if you got to put this thing into a really tight compartment where you can't access anything else. Both your lines can come out of one spot. And then real simple, here's your bracket. It's going to come with straps that actually have kind of this hook and loop on one side. And then you're only going to need to have bolts on one side of both of these straps. What that does is that helps if you need to put this up against a side of the machine, a bulkhead or something like that. Again, fit it into a tight place. You only have to worry about getting your tools and stuff to bolt on only one side. And then the tab, again, I showed you that in that picture. If you just put an adjustable wrench on this tab, you'd be able to just bend that right up to give you that foot for the tank to sit on.
All right, so when I had the tank here, I was showing you the cap. So coming out of that cap for distribution and actuation, you have a couple options. You can come straight out with your normal straight fittings. We also give you the option to come out with a 90 degree. And that's really just to help with the flexibility of the installation. We want to design this to fit on any machine. So as long as you have the space for the tank in that fitting, that footprint that Matt gave, you have all sorts of options for coming straight out, 90. You can angle those in any direction you need to. And that's just going to make the installation really easy.
Right. We sell our premium kit that comes with our hose and hose fittings. So that picture there, you'll receive all your fittings and everything that you need to be able to get either one of those configurations. The next thing that's different than our other systems is the burst disc. Again, we wanted to keep it small and compact. We didn't want to have a large burst disc that would have to come out of the side of this tank. So this little burst disc, it's about only 1 inch in diameter, and it's something that you'll throw away anytime that you have a discharge or you're doing your 5-year service. When you're working on it, we made it easy for you with put a red side on it. So when you're installing it, you know which way it is going to face out towards the tank. Again, let's go ahead and show you some more parts.
So here I've got an example of the cap with the straight fittings coming out of it. The cap itself just fits into the top of the tank. It seals with this O-ring. On the bottom of the cap, when you pull this out, you've got this piece with some flats on it. And what that lets you do is when the cap is out, you can install that into a vise. That'll let you take your adapter out, and that's where you're going to replace your burst disc.
Yep, and then here's just a configuration of using some 90s. And again, in that premium kit, it'll come with this swivel 90, which is a really neat thing for you to have. If you're using your own hose and your own hose fittings, I do recommend you keep some of these in your inventory. That way you don't have anything, when you're trying to tighten this 90 against this one, they won't get in the way of each other. And then you can also kind of route these lines, tighten this down so they both come out in the same direction. And then, here's the burst disc. So again, it's pretty small, but again, we tested this thing to hold up to all the harsh environments that you're going to see out in the field.
Yeah, and the burst disc, it's important to mention, we said that the tank, when it shows up, it's ready to install. So your tank will already have this installed. Everything will be ready to go there. When you do a recharge or a 5-year service, you're going to take that cap out. You're going to put it in the vise and take your adapter off and replace the burst disc that was in there. And then your new burst disc, like Matt said, the red side faces out. So I'll just drop that in here. You see the red side there. And then you'll take your adapter and you'll just tighten that back on. So we torqued that down here to 80 foot-pounds. But if you've got a large adjustable wrench out in the field and you tighten that down pretty good, you shouldn't have any problems.
Right. So what I'd also like to show you is if you do want to use your own hose and your own hose fittings, here's some examples of what that may look like as well. You can see some of them use our stuff, but so I think some of the pictures you can see even just tube coming right out of the tank. There's another picture kind of in that bottom right where it is a tight fit up against the side of the machine. And again, there you can see they're using their own 90s. But this just shows you, the versatility that you can have across so many different various setups that you're going to see in any of your installations.
Yeah, and we love seeing these pictures. So as you do order them and install them, take pictures, send them to us. We're always looking to help, whether you just have a question or just to, have them for ourselves to look at how people are using the tanks.
Yeah, and we like being able to put this stuff on social media and in these trainings. So yeah, please send us your pictures.
Okay, the distribution coming out of the tank. So you have a couple of options. You can do the traditional install where you go into a couple of T's and then out to your nozzle lines. You can also run this inline. So you can run that one A line all the way around the system and then branch off anywhere you need a nozzle with a T. It's 50 feet max for both of these. If you look in the manual, which we'll talk about later, it'll give you all your imbalance ratios, the lengths for each line, the max number of bends, all those things. And this half-inch distribution, I've got to say, if you looked at a feature list of this tank, and I'm guilty of this, if I looked at the feature list, I would say, okay, half-inch, that's cool. But after we've built a lot of these and tested a lot of these, working with that half-inch line, whether it's the tube or the hose, is so nice. The bend radius you get, the flexibility, how easy it is to bend half-inch hose, and then routing it in these machines where you're in tight spaces. It's honestly my favorite feature about this tank now. And in the beginning, I would have, take it or leave it. So I think that as you start to install these, you're really going to appreciate that. And at the end of that distribution line, we have our compact tank nozzles. These nozzles come with the cap when you order them. We also have caps that you can order separately if you ever need replacement. They're a 60-degree cone. The diameter is a 14-inch at a 16-inch distance. And again, we talked about the length of that half-inch line, the flow rate of these nozzles, the spray distance. All of those things are variables that we messed with in order to optimize the performance of this tank. Okay, so another poll here. What compact system feature is the most important for your customers?
Yeah, are you hearing from a lot of customers that, you need to be able to fit something on a small machine and have flexible mounting? Do you want it to be fully automatic or manual? And then, do you need it to be rechargeable and serviceable, easy for your guys and your customers? Then also, do you want it to be durable and have a bunch of testing that was completed on it? So yeah, let us know kind of what's the top importance that you might have. Again, too, I know we're flying through a lot of stuff here in this webinar, but please, again, take a couple minutes, get in that Q&A. We'll have a whole session at the end of this where we can just stop. We can, have some conversations about some of those questions that you might have and try to help you out as well.
Yeah, and anything you want to put in that Q&A, it doesn't have to be a question. Anything that you want to let us know, tell us. It's a good way for us to gather information. So keep putting that stuff in there. Compact size and mounting flexibility. Yeah, so I mean, that's the customer feedback we talked about at the beginning. It needed to be small, need to be compact. So yeah, that's good. I think we're hitting that really well with this system.
So along with, needing that to be really compact, again, only having to have that one side cartridge, what we did is we tested it to be able to be up to 30 feet away from that liquid tank. So what you're able to do is run that 1/4-inch line, and it gives you, again, so much flexibility to be able to mount these components in the best location on these small machines. And then we get into the actual compact panel itself. So this thing, what we did is we still are going to give you your audio and visual problems and, your statuses to be able to tell your operators and everybody what's going on with it. And then we do have one detection and one actuation with this as well.
Now, this panel is internally powered only, so no external power, and it's powered off of 2 AA batteries. AFEX AA batteries, they need to be the AFEX batteries, just like our other systems. The footprint of this is 2.2 inches by 4.5 inches by 2 inches. So again, everything about the system, we want to keep everything compact tank, compact panel. It's got to fit in that cab, and once we get inside the panel, there's 4 screws around the outside, and you pull that front cover off. And on the back of that, you'll have your battery holder here shown. And then right underneath that battery holder is a potentiometer that's going to be your discharge delay timer. So from the factory here, we set that at 0, and you can turn that clockwise all the way up to 30 seconds. And that's going to control how quickly you go from alarm to system discharge, which we'll talk about when we look at the buttons and the LEDs.
Yeah. All right, on the back of the panel, what we did is we gave a couple channels to allow you to be able to route that wiring in any direction. And let's grab a couple of these parts again. We'll try to go full screen and we'll show you. So here's the back of that panel that you saw in that previous picture. There are these different channels, so you can take the wire and you can lay it in any one of these channels. Again, that just gives you that flexibility for wherever you're mounting this thing. You need the wire to come out this way because you're up against the side of your machine. We give you that flexibility. You could drill a hole and just run the wiring straight into whatever you're mounting it to as well.
Yeah, and then on the front, we talked about these 4 screws here around the top and the bottom. If you unscrew those, that'll let your panel come off. And then when you take that panel off and you open it up, you've got your battery holder here. And then right underneath that, you'll have your discharge delay timer. You just need a little flathead and you'll be able to get in there and turn that to adjust it to what you want it to be. Well, and then the actuation and discharge, the wires coming out of it's just 4 wire. So here we've got them with the Deutsch connectors on the end of them. So that's all it is.
Yeah, real simple.
All right, so we showed quickly kind of the front of that panel there, and this is a little bit more detail. So we'll start with the lights for the LEDs. That first light on the top left is we decided to use pictures instead of a language, so it's kind of universal. So that lighting bolt is the power LED. That'll flash green once every 10 seconds, and that's just to let you know that the panel is powered and that it's actively monitoring. That next light is our problem LED. Anytime you have a problem with this system, you'll get an audio tone every 10 seconds, and then your problem light will flash a code to let you know what problem it's seeing. In the manual, we have a whole troubleshooting section about how to identify which problems you're seeing. And then finally, the last light is that alarm LED. So what that's going to do is when the system detects a fire event, you're going to go into alarm mode. You're going to get some rapid beeps from it, and that light's going to start flashing. And as you count down to whatever your discharge delay timer is set to, it's going to flash faster. And then as soon as you get to 0, you're going to be in system discharge mode. The system will discharge and your alarm LED is going to be a solid red at that point.
Right. So then we have 2 buttons on there. The first one there is a reset button. That's just going to reset your time to discharge. So again, if you turn that dial, you're giving yourself a 10-second delay timer. If you need a little bit more time in that machine to get away from something that you don't, start on fire or something like that, you hit that reset button and it'll restart that counter back over. And then the other button, that's just your silence button. And again, same thing, simple. Just allows that horn to be silenced at any time in any mode. It'll mute that horn for up to 4 hours. And if you did want to press it again, it'll just resume its normal operation. Here's kind of a neat field picture again that I wanted to show you. I was out on this install helping out, and we currently offer the push button. That's something we already have in inventory. Some of you probably already have this, on your truck. This is an option for you to use for a second manual activation point. And also this really helps, if some of these cabs, you can't fit your 2-ounce firing mechanism inside. I know a lot of these skid steers with that lap bar that comes down, the fire extinguisher down by your feet, it's sometimes hard to fit that in there. So having this push button can really help. And we can kind of show you that here as well. So again, we know using a 2-ounce, it's going to be a little bit longer along with your firing mechanism. This can just be a challenge to mount in these really small cabs. And then you have the button that you can mount, and you can put those anywhere inside the cab as well. So this is just another option, and it'll just really help you be able to install all this on these really small machines.
Yeah, the design and the kits are going to come with that 2-ounce, but in some instances where you are really needing that, you just can't fit it. That's where that push button's really going to come.
All right, I like showing some of these installation pictures, so let's show you a couple more. Could definitely help you if you get on any of these machines. Here is a 299 on the right. So that's that CAD skid steer that can come with the land clearing package, the big mulching head on the front, something you're definitely going to want to put fire suppression on it. And then on the other side is just a small Cat 304 that also was a forestry thing. It had another mulching head on that as well.
Yeah, that 299 picture, we talked about the footprint at the beginning with the fittings. If you took that tank out of there and measured that space, you're probably a 1/4 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch bigger. And if you have the space for it, that tank will drop in. If you can fit that footprint, you can make that system work.
Right. Couple more installation pictures here. We had a Cat 420 and a little small boom lift. The really neat thing here is that there was a cover that they ended up taking off and finding out that the tank fit perfectly, underneath that cover. You can even see on that Cat, you've got your 90-degree fittings coming off, and then on the boom lift, they're using straight fittings. And it just allows you to be able to, install this however you might need to on these machines. And then, this was on a Kubota. I think this was a SSV 75 skid steer. Here, they're actually able to put the tank right behind the operator seat in the cab. There you can see the 2-ounce and the fire mechanism there as well.
And way back at the beginning of this presentation, we talked about the customer feedback that we were getting, and people were saying they wanted to mount them horizontal. And all these installation pictures we look like are horizontal, but it is important to mention this tank can be mounted in any orientation. So you can be upside down, sideways, just anywhere it'll fit. Again, you can make the installation work.
Yep. And even when it's horizontal, there is no this side up. It doesn't have to be spun a certain way. It can lay any way you want. All right, when you're doing your FRA, which is your fire risk assessment, really make sure that you're hitting all those risks that you did when you did your risk assessment. Here's just a picture showing that distribution. This is an inline, and you can see those 2 nozzles there. They're addressing the turbo and addressing those fire risks on this small machine.
Yeah, we talked about in that distribution, running that A line. You can see they're branching off of those 2 nozzles, and the line keeps running. So you've got 2 more nozzles to use whenever your other fire risk, has been addressed.
Right.
All right, a couple of times we've mentioned the performance of the system that we were trying to get. So when it comes to fire testing, we're very fortunate to work at AFEX because we have the best fire suppression systems. So when we're looking for a benchmark on our testing, we have this range of products that we know we can make the system fit into and provide that performance that you expect from us. So one of the main fire tests that we use is the AS5062 indirect test. This test sprays diesel at a heated sheet over a pool fire. That fire burns for 2 minutes before you actuate our system. So you can see in the still here, that level of fire is happening for about 2 minutes before you even set off the system. So you're building up a lot of heat. And then the Australian standard is also testing to be worst case scenario. So it's your maximum line lengths, your maximum nozzles, maximum bends, and then you test this at your minimum listed pressure and temperature. So we're at negative 40 degrees Celsius, the agent and the tank. So really worst case scenario. So when you run these tests and you get these kind of results at a worst case scenario, you know that out in the field, you're always going to be, putting these out. So let's go ahead and watch this. So the pre-burn's been going for about 2 minutes here. And you'll see now we just actuated the system. So here you had about a 6-second pan out. So we put that fire out. And again, we talked earlier, the minimum discharge the minimum discharge time on this is 20 seconds. So you're almost at around 75% of the time that you're discharging, that you're getting this cooling effect with no fire even there. So you get that fast knockdown, you get that additional cooling. And then at the end of this test, as a reflash test, you turn that diesel off and you turn that diesel back on after you've discharged, and you can't have any kind of reflashing. So again, us being able to knock it down so fast and cool that sheet down, we just don't have any, reason to have any reflash. So it's really impressive to see.
Yeah. Again, remember that was 1 nozzle setting that fire out. You're going to have 4 nozzles, on that machine. So the confidence that you're going to have with this, and you can tell your customers, just by watching that video, I hope you really understand how amazing, this little small system is. Another thing that we did for testing, we did shock and vibe testing as well. This is something that we go do a third-party testing, and you can see in the picture there, we have 2 tanks that are aimed down. So you're getting all that shock and vibration against that little burst disc. You can also see the 2-ounce, the fire mechanism, even our compact panels, we mounted a couple of those to here as well. Basically the whole system, right? We're testing everything. And since it's the third party, it's done to the FM specifications. So it's 24 hours of abusive vibration testing in each axis. So they'll test it, they'll turn it, test it, turn it. So 72 hours total. And the tanks are shaking, the 2-ounce in there is shaking, all the hose, wiring, everything. And it's loud. This machine, just the vibration it has to do on that large drum. It's not something we could even show you a video of because it's just so loud.
If you're wearing headphones, the video would be awful. It's a crazy noise that this test makes.
Right. And then you have their shock testing as well. So on the same thing, they'll turn this, and then basically what they do is they just hit this pallet 5,000 times at 10 Gs. And again, all of our parts on this system passed with no damage at all. Internal, we did a bunch of stuff too. We have a hot and cold test that we do. So for months, we had it in the freezer at negative 40 and in ovens, much hotter than our rated temperature. And then we did a lot of cycle tests on it. So we had people set up in the parking lot. Our product support were out there. They would fill it up with SafeX, set it off, fill it up, set it off, and they'd sit there and do that over 50 times.
Yeah, if you've been through any of our training, we really push like FM and Australia standards for our parts. So even when we're designing something, we're testing to those same standards. We're trying to make sure that all of those parts, are going to be just as good as anything else that we've developed.
Right. All right, so we'll do another quick poll here. I'm just wondering if any of you have watched any of the Compact System training videos yet on our website. So just let us know if you've seen them, no, but now you plan to, or no, you didn't even know that they're available.
Yeah, this system is new and there's quite a bit of differences. So we've tried to do a good job of giving people a lot of resources. So we've done videos, another technical training like this. We're going to give you access to all those resources in a minute here, but we're trying to give you as much information as possible to be really comfortable with this tank.
Right. I can see a lot of questions and things coming into our Q&A. So again, thank you for that. If you need another couple minutes, just go ahead and write something in there if you wanted to. But it looks like we're getting our answers in here. Yeah, it looks like you said no, but you plan to. And actually, a bunch of you have already have. So that's great. We have a cool resource here I want to show you. So on the next slide, if you have your phones handy, go ahead, get your phone out, scan this. It's a really good thing just to save this in your favorites on your phone. So you can go back and watch any of these training videos as you need to. Again, some of you, I don't know when you're going to get around to doing an install or doing a recharge or a service, but that recharge could happen at any point. So, having this QR code handy so you can go back and reference that to help you do a recharge is going to be great.
Yeah, it's great to watch it ahead of time to kind of understand what you're going to be getting into. It'd be hard to be doing this and watching it at the same time and trying to learn while you're, performing the process.
Yep. And there's a whole big training video. I did a whole big long PowerPoint like this going over a lot more details. So go ahead and watch that too. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually play you one of the videos that's from that website.
Compact 1.5 gallon tank recharge. These are the steps for recharging the AFEX Compact System's 1.5 gallon tank after a discharge. The tank has no agent inside. Bringing the piston to the top of the tank. After disconnecting the actuation and distribution lines from the tank, remove the tank from the machine and proceed with the recharge a safe distance away from any debris. The first step is to bring the piston to the top of the tank. Connect a piece of 1/2 inch hose with a female JIC fitting to the adapter on the top of the tank. Then place the air line with the nozzle attachment to the other end of the hose. Send compressed air down the tube for 10 to 20 seconds, using a rag to catch any residual agent. Remove the snap ring from the top of the tank using the AFEX snap ring pliers. Then, using the hose for leverage, remove the tank cap. Before refilling, press the piston down using the AFEX Compact Tank Recharge tool. Then, measure the distance from the top of the piston to the top of the tank to ensure the piston is in the proper position. The distance should be 1 1/2 inch. Refilling the tank with new agent. Use an Allen key to remove the button head screw and O-ring. Inspect the O-ring and replace if necessary. Ensure the O-ring is lubricated before installing the button head screw back into the piston. Use a funnel to prevent foaming while filling the tank. Pour the agent down the siphon tube, stopping when the agent is at or just below the button head screw hole. Then replace the button head screw and wipe away excess agent from the top of the piston. Replacing the burst disc. Place the bottom of the tank cap into a vise and use a large adjustable wrench to remove the adapter. Remove the old burst disc. The disc is sandwiched between 2 pieces of vinyl, so be sure to remove those as well. Install the new burst disc with the red side facing up and tighten the adapter back onto the cap. Inspect the inner and outer O-ring on the cap and replace if necessary. Ensure the O-rings are lubricated before installing the cap back onto the tank. Replace the cap onto the tank. Align the bottom of the cap with the tube and push evenly until you can see the snap ring groove. Finally, reinstall the snap ring before mounting the tank back onto the machine.
Okay, so we just went through the entire recharge video that we give you on our resource page, but we thought we would take a little bit of time here to go into a little bit more detail on some of the safety things that we've seen by recharging it. And you guys said you wanted to know more about the tank, so this is a good opportunity to do that. I do want to say that Amy is helping us here free camming this, so it's a little bit shaky, but I think this will keep it entertaining. And you'll be able to see a lot of detail and some more conversation about what's going on as Matt goes through this. So this tank that we have here is acting like it had been discharged like in that video. So we talked about that 1/2-inch hose with a fitting to put on the top of it. So Matt's just attaching this piece of spare hose that we have. So what happens when the tank discharges is your piston is pushed all the way to the bottom of the tank. And we're going to use compressed air to bring that piston back up to the top before we refill it. So he's got that hose and he's putting his air nozzle in there and he's pressurizing the tank. So that's going to push your piston up, but it also does build pressure in the tank. So he's got that rag wrapped around that hose to make sure that any residual agent or anything in there is going to spray into that and not out into the air. He's also making sure that he keeps the hose pointing away from him so that he's not spraying himself or somebody else in the face. So once that's done, he's going to take the snap ring off. The important note about the snap ring, and you should see it from Matt here, is when he goes to squeeze that snap ring, it comes together really easy. The snap ring's not buckling. The cap isn't pushing up against the snap ring. And that's a good indicator that there's no more pressure in that tank and that it's safe to take that cap off. If the tank was somehow pressurized, that snap ring is really what's holding everything together. So you really want to be careful. If there is any pressure, take a step back, think about what's going on before you just grip that snap ring.
Right. And I maybe made that look pretty easy. I just want everyone to know that, we've taken the snap ring on and off hundreds of times. When you do this for the first time, take your time. There's going to be a little bit of learning curve on how you use your snap ring and kind of just getting familiar with how to get that in and out of there.
The snap ring pliers we were using, we do sell them as an AFEX part. It's an 85 millimeter, 140 millimeter internal snap ring. So you can buy those from us if you need to. But if you have your own, large snap ring pliers like that, you can use your own as well. Yeah. So once that snap ring is off, Matt's going to pull the cap out of this tank. So again, attaching that hose really helps you to give you the leverage to pull up on that. And then once that's off, now you have access to the inside of the tank where you'll be doing the refill. So with the piston pushed all the way up to the top, we always want to make sure that it's at the right distance whenever we start to refill. So we have this recharge tool that we sell. And what it does is it fits around the top of that tank. You're able to push it down, and that's going to put your piston exactly where it needs to be. Now, you don't have to use this. You could push the piston down by hand because we give you that 1.5-inch distance to measure. But the tool just makes it so easy where you're going to catch on the lip of that tank. You can't push it down too far, and it's always going to be right and ready to refill. When we go to refill the tank, we don't have a funnel here. You go down that discharge tube in the middle, but we really recommend you use this 1.5 gallon jug. We're going to fill this with the exact amount that you need to go into this recharge. If you try and use a 5 gallon that you have, it's a lot harder to control that. You're going to spill a little bit more. You might not get it all in that tube. So using that 1.5 is really convenient for refilling these tanks.
Yep. So we'll just head back over here, and you can see here on this slide where we're just listing the tools with the part numbers for you. Kind of have some descriptions there. The agent as well, and just go ahead. I would get this stuff in your inventory. Get it on your truck. Again, you never know when you might have to do that recharge.
Yeah, it is. I will mention it's a different part number. It is the same agent. It's just a different part number to make sure you're getting it that 1.5 gallon quantity specific for these tanks. And then, as Matt mentioned during the video, there is a learning curve for this. The more you do it, the easier it'll get. We've done it so many times that we both feel very comfortable recharging this tank. But when you first get it, you might be like, oh, this is, different. And that's, expected. Yeah.
Some of our tips that we could help you with as well is, again, since this tank does come filled and completely assembled, brand new, you could have a brand new one sitting in your inventory. And if you need to go out and do a recharge, just swap the tanks. That's going to be really, really quick for you. And then bring that tank back to your shop and do your recharge there. What you can do is you can have an extra bracket That way you can actually mount your tank. That's a lot easier than for you to be able to pull that cap off. Again, I've pulled the cap off hundreds of times, so I kind of have a good technique on how to do that. But that can be kind of difficult. Again, just a little bit of a learning curve there as well.
All right, resources. We really want to, drive this home because, like we said, it's a new system. We want to give you all the information about it as we can. So again, here's this QR code, and we'll go over again what's there. You have the installation manual. You go into our distributor portal, and you'll be able to find a whole new manual specific to the compact system that's going to have all the information you should need. You're also going to have the recharge video we just watched, the 5-year service video, the owner's operator manuals on the portal as well. And then Matt mentioned it a little bit earlier, but there's a technical training video that's very similar to this. It's just a presentation, but it goes into a little bit more detail about some of the components. I think you cover wiring, really a little bit more detail about the system overall. So another good video to watch.
Yeah, and the best resource, right, is you get AFEX.
Yeah.
You get us, you get the whole team. A lot of you have my cell phone number. A couple of you called me already this morning with questions. Keep doing that. All of our product support is very familiar with this tank. They've all worked on it. They all know some of those learning curves with being able to work with the snap ring, pulling the cap off, that sort of thing. So again, just use us. That first recharge you're going to have to do. Call any of us. We'll help you through it.
All right, another poll here. What additional training or resources would help you sell and service the compact system? The options here, we got more installation videos, hands-on training sessions, troubleshooting guides, case studies, and success stories. Yeah, we're getting close to the end here, but again, keep putting in those Q&A questions. We're about to start going over a few of them, I think, shortly.
Yeah, we'll give you a little bit of time to answer this. And then, if you have any more questions from anything that you've seen, we'll start going through them. And as we're going through them, please, go ahead, put a couple more in there. And we'll try to get through everybody's as much as we can. It looks like I know we're probably coming up on time here, but we'll try to get through a lot of your questions here. All right, so it looks like a lot of different things, but the main one is some case study and success stories. I know we got distributors that have already installed a lot of these. Take a look on our social media. We'll definitely be able to put some things up on there from what they liked and on how well their installations have gone so far.
Yeah, and all those other answers, the installation videos, the hands-on training, and the troubleshooting guide, make sure you're going through our resources and seeing what's available there. And then if there's anything additional on top of that, reach out to us. Let us know if there's something that's confusing to you, something you could use more information on. We should be able to help you with that.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for that. Let's go ahead and jump into some of our questions here. And we'll have a little bit of a session here. We'll have Amy read through some of these questions for us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I really enjoyed learning about the introduction of those technical specs of the compact system. And we do have some questions here. The first one, is the compact system FM certified?
So we do have projects open with FM and Australia to get this tank approved. We mentioned before, but when we're designing this, we're running all the tests for Australia and FM. So we're submitting those test reports, all the drawings, and now it's just a matter of getting on their schedule to get everything approved. Our social media team, they do a great job of putting this stuff out whenever they do get approved. So it should happen shortly, and I would just keep an eye out for it whenever it happens.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll definitely include that in a distributor newsletter as well. If you don't receive those, let us know and we'll make sure you're subscribed to that. Another question here, how long does it take to install the compact system?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer this one. I've been out on a couple installs already. Give yourself a little bit more time, to do the first one. But from everything I've seen so far, it's going to take you one guy, one day, especially after you get really familiar with it. Definitely, you shouldn't be taking more than one day to do this.
Right. Can you do a dual tank setup?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one too. I know Michael and I know this product so well, so we could answer all these together. But I've actually been out on an install with the dual tank already. Just talk to us. It is going to be a little bit unique. But what we'd like to know is what machine are you on? That fire risk assessment that you did, how many risks do you have? We just want to make sure that we're still putting the right system on the right machine. So again, reach out to our team and we'll make sure we're helping you and guiding you in that. And if that dual tank system is perfect for that, we'll help you with how to install it.
Yeah, I would say, when you look in our manual and all of our documentation, we really pushed this to be a single tank standalone system. So there are some additional parts or things. Again, work with us. We've done it before. We can help you get everything you need to make that work if it makes sense for that machine.
Yep.
Excellent. How long do the batteries last in the compact panel?
So in the compact panel, we recommend that you replace those every 6 months as part of the recertification. So whenever you're out there working on that, you're just going to take those out.
And how do you know when they need to be changed?
So 6 months of the recertification should be well beyond, the service life of that battery. If you do have any problems with the batteries, there is a problem on the panel that'll come up if there's a low battery issue. So that'll be beeping at you and that light will be flashing to let you know.
Yep.
Related to the compact panel as well, what is the IP rating of it?
Yeah. So the IP rating right now on this is 33. It's designed to be in cabs. If you are going to need something that's going to be in a harsh environment outside or something like that, you can always put our control unit with this system as well. So that's a great option for you to be aware of.
Thank you. What is the hydro test interval?
So we mentioned it earlier with using that non-pressurized tank, we're able to do 12 years on that. It'd be very hard to show you on this tank here, but you'll see it in the manual. The dates are on the bottom of the tank. They're stamped in there. So if you ever need to check like, hey, when is that date coming up? That's where that information is.
Yep.
Great. When recharging the compact system, what does that black collar, we know it as the recharge tool, what does that do exactly and where does the liquid go?
So the recharge tool, again, I think we cover it really well in the video. We didn't show it too well in our live presentation, but when you're pressurizing that tank for the recharge and pushing the piston all the way up, this essentially is just going to push the piston back down to this 1.5 inch distance that we call for. This lip on the top is going to catch on the tank, and that just makes sure that you can't go in too deep. When we showed the tank, or I could show it here, that's kind of hard to see, but at the bottom of this cap, when we had that tank open, there's a silver tube coming out of the middle. That's the siphon tube. So we recommend you put a filter in that and then pour the liquid. Yeah, we're just going to grab this tank so you can actually see it. Matt can help me here. Yeah, so this is looking down. Now we've pulled off the cap. This is the example we were using. And right here, this is your discharge or your siphon tube. So you would put a funnel there. You're going to take this bleeder screw out to let the air escape. And then you'll pour your agent down through that tube until it comes out of that hole. And then you'll know that you have the right amount.
Thank you. We have another question here. How are you able to install the tank at any angle? Does it have a different pickup tube?
Yeah, no, just because of the way that we engineered inside of this tank with using a piston to be able to push it. Since that's hydraulic piston pushing it, it doesn't matter if it's upside down, sideways, at an angle. It'll always push that liquid out of the tank.
All right. Is there ever a need to remove the piston for cleaning the tank?
No. So what we recommend if you're doing your 5-year service is that you rinse the inside of the tank out with water. If you watch that video, it has a good process for it. But essentially the same tube that you fill it in, you would just put a little bit of water down there, maybe circulate that in the tank, and then get rid of that. And then you can go in with fresh agent. And that'll clean out the inside of the tank.
Right.
Can you use the control unit instead of the compact panel?
Yeah. Yep. So like we said, you can definitely use the control unit with this system. So if any reason why you might need some of the other extra features that has, you can definitely pair it with this compact tank.
Yeah, or the IP rating you mentioned. If it has to be in an environment where it's going to see a lot of water, that's probably a better choice than the compact panel.
Right. Does the package for the system come with the straight and 90-degree fittings and adapters for the distribution line?
Yeah, so we did do a sales webinar that kind of talked through the 3 different systems that you can order. And that video is available too. If you ever want to go back and watch it, just ask us. We can send that to you. But the premium one is the one that'll come with the hose and fittings. And yes, then you're going to have everything you're going to need to install the system. All those fittings are going to be in that one. Great.
Does the system include engine shutdown?
So the packages that you can order right now don't have engine shutdown included in that, but you can always use that. If you order the engine shutdown package, you can make that work.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know we've gone a little bit over time here. So if you do have any other questions that come to mind, please reach out to us. We're going to pop Michael and Matt's email addresses back onto the screen so you can jot those down if you don't have them, or give them a call. So I think a lot of you probably have their numbers. We'll also be sending out an email after this with a recording to the webinar so you can share it internally with your colleagues. And we'll also in that email include direct links to those technical resources that were referenced today. But thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We hope you all have a great day and a good weekend.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.